Greetings to the audience of the Geojuristoday. It's a pleasure to have amongst us former Indian Forest Service officer, Ambassador Amarendra Khatua. Amarendra Khatua is a distinguished Indian civil servant from the IFS cadre known for his expertise in the international trade negotiations, and diplomacy. A 1981 batch officer, Mr. Khatua has had a prolific 35-year-long diplomatic career marked by significant assignments and contribution to India's foreign relations and trade policies. Sir's notable roles include serving as the High Commissioner of India to Argentina and Ivory Coast, Secretary of Special Assignment at the MEA, and Director General of the ICCR. I would like to now introduce my senior researcher, Ms. Anshika Patra. And without wasting any further ado, let's begin with the podcast. Thanks for your special time, sir.
Thank you, both of you.
So, sir, as very prominent part of your career has been related to trade negotiations and your time at the WTO. So, sir, I want you to make the audience understand that what's the importance of international relations and the negotiations that happen in the corridors of WTO, and how do they directly affect the part of diplomatic policies and public policies. For example, the price of subsidies of gas cylinders going up and down, the price of petrol rising up and down. So, how much the foreign policy negotiations, whether all of the free trade negotiations that are happening, just explain its importance.
Before this, I'll say foreign policy of last century is not relevant at all. Today's foreign policy includes four things. One, growing conflicts, both international, national, and domestic. Conflict resolution for the countries is one of the biggest things. Two, post-COVID related to development, economic development, sustainable development, and people-to-people contact. This has gone down. For example, in Africa, you have 53 countries. Each of the countries now growth is going down. They are absolutely dependent on charity. And poverty is increasing so much that every year 1 million Africans leaving Africa. Think about the future. We are talking about relationship between South Asia. Many countries do not talk to each other. See the economic crisis in Sri Lanka and Maldives. See relationship between India and Pakistan. See the neo-colonialistic trends given birth by China. See the war between Russia and Ukraine. See the crisis between Hamas and Israel. Both those sides, children and women die. In this concept, when we are talking about now today's foreign policy is cooperation between the countries for trade, development, people-to-people contact, conflict resolution, and such issues.
Right, sir. Anshika, you also.
Yeah. So the subgroup of countries with a primary focus on manufacturing export tend to face the maximum benefits from the WTO regulation, and the countries with the which are resource rich, they tend to face the minimum benefits from these regulations. How do you think an equality could be brought amongst the countries when it comes to WTO regulations?
I used to be one of the negotiators from Ministry of Commerce to Doha round. I used to head the NAMA team. Failure of Doha round really has affected us. Western countries, they preach more practice race as far as the multilateral trading relations are concerned. Say you talk about India, you talk about Vietnam, you talk about Indonesia, you talk about South Africa. These countries are resource rich. They also produce lots of things. But entry into developed countries market is not easy. Two, we talk about MSMEs. 60% of products of developing world comes from MSME sector. Where do they get the finance? How can they export to developed countries? Do they have tariff preference? So, for example, among us, we have duty-free tariff preference, zero duty entry into markets. Into Indian market, you can enter. Even into Chinese market, you can enter. But to European Union market, you can't. They have other barriers. These are the things needs to be analyzed. For analysis, you have only one forum, World Trade Organization, which is completely dominated by these developed countries, or they bring the topics which are in part of their agenda.
Also, sir, talking about Viksit Bharat, which is one of the most talked about topics in the country right now. The key objective of Viksit Bharat is to make sure that every citizen of India participates in the economy. How should the younger generation, that is us, be a part of the country's development and grow ourselves?
See, we do not in this talk criticize any political party or government. But when we are talking about India, we are talking about a continent, a unity in diversity. You have 1450 million population, 450 million poor who have to be subsidized, 550 million middle class who are perpetually in the market of crisis of expectations, 350 million public sector government employees, they work by a book. This is vertically divided by rural India, urban India, horizontally by rich India, poor India. Which India you are talking about? In this concept, you have to see all the issues you are talking. Developmental issues, foreign policy issues, unity in diversity issues, education, women development, children's participation, all those issues. Therefore, it's not easy. It is not a short-term thing. It is a medium-term and long-term policy. Therefore, we, as educated youth, we can criticize people, which is good. But our participation, our future depends on what foreign policy, what economic policy, what state-center relationship, all these are emerging.
So, coming to the part of Viksit Bharat only, so India plans in the next 2 decades to increase its GDP by $30 trillion. So right now we are at $3 trillion mark. So, what are the recommendations from your side, and what are the policy changes that you recommend to the policy formulators to reach that mark?
As I said, for example, take example of MSMEs. Almost 55% of our exports are from this sector. It employs almost 10 crore people. It employs almost 3.7 crore women. But we have just a Ministry of MSME looking after this. Why cannot we have MSME interministerial wing in Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in Ministry of External Affairs, in Ministry of Petroleum, in Ministry of Civil Aviation? So that what happens is that our outreach of these people who come from the rural areas, who comes from spread out all over India, they get opportunity to export their products. They know where to export. They get support from these ministries. Just MSME can do the policy, nothing wrong in that. But without this coordination, what happens is that we promise but cannot deliver. This is one kind of thing. Then second, lots of schemes of Prime Minister Modi are success. But to make it complete success, we have to involve everyone in India. Policymakers, NGOs, youth and women, states, etc. This is taking time. How this will be impacted well, we need to work on.
Correct, sir. Thank you so much for answering this part, sir. Now we move on to the part of your career in ICCR. So, sir, a lot of people are not aware, like they don't know what are the subheads of diplomacy. So there is music diplomacy, there is cultural diplomacy, there is food diplomacy. So what is cultural diplomacy, and what are the procedures that are happening in ICCR? How we bolster our foreign policy through ICCR?
India, as far as cultural diplomacy goes, is a superpower. But we have not harvested much really, which is very unfortunate. We have ICCR, we have Ministry of Culture, we have 24 million diaspora, each one is a cultural ambassador. With this, day before I was giving a talk, so we established artists of India, including Arpana Kaur. You know, the materials which you use for painting, the colors, the brushes, India's export is $230 million. But the paintings, our export is only $70 million. Six.
The deficit.
We are exporting whole world how to paint the colors and all. but our artists are export is less.
Mm.
Therefore, time has come. We have to have cultural policy. Most of the diaspora in July, they celebrate whether it is Kannada, Kutta, Bana, Bihar Association of North America, Bengali Association, they have all kind of events. We should tell them that you don't have to like talk too much about India. Talk about how you can buy one Indian art, each of. Even if like out of the 24 million, 2 million buy, think about it, 2 million of products. Three, we say you are celebrating the special day for Bihar, Karnataka, Kerala in different countries. Call a performing art troupe. Think about how much it will generate. All this needs to be coordinated. I think uh, independent decision making time is over. That I'm the embassy, I decide everything, we will not do. That I'm Ministry of Culture, I will decide, will not do. That I'm ICCR, have a panel which will decide whom to send, will not do. A comprehensive interministerial approach, short term, medium term, long term, how to promote cultural diplomacy is the need of the hour. And we must do it well.
Right, sir.
And review it.
What I personally feel is, sir, in the past decade, like since we have started celebration of International Yoga Day, there's a promotion of Ayurveda post-COVID also. People are going less towards the allopathy. So how do you think ICCR is promoting yoga, Ayurveda?
See, now yoga gives more money to foreign countries than to India.
Correct, sir.
127 university has diploma in yoga, foreign universities.
Hmm.
If yoga can succeed, why not visual arts and performing arts? That is the question I was raising. The point you said is very relevant. The time has come now. Say, for example, whether it is PMO, whether it is external affairs minister, we must review that why our cultural diplomacy and people-to-people contact is not delivering tremendously.
Right, sir.
So India is a country with a lot of cultural diversity. On one hand, it may act as a soft power for the country, but on the other hand, as we've seen from time and again, that this cultural diversity has also created a lot of cultural conflicts in the country. People are still not accepting Hindi as a national language. So that is just one of the examples of how people of different cultural backgrounds still have conflicts in India. What is your view on that?
We have to do youth here. Without conflict, youth is not youth. And same Keralite who is like saying that I don't like Hindi speaks in Hindi when he comes to Delhi. So unity in diversity is that dissension is part of us. As young people, it really does not matter. What matters is that when I'm saying all this, which institution is there to support me? Which institution I can give my message to? Say, for example, Kerala government has a Rajabhasha board. If they have any problem, why not they are unifying together? Therefore, this protest by youth is a nice sign. It's a great sign. It's a regenerating sign. I have to explain to you, like when you say, why should I speak in Hindi? I must explain to you. Why not? Say, for example, sports. The amount of rural people are qualifying for Olympics is a big thing. You can't believe it. Like 10 years back, 5 years back, already 23 rural people, women and people have been selected for the Olympics. It's a big deal. But same guy will say, why football? We don't like football, we like cricket. That is okay for the youth. That's the beauty of India.
So, but don't you think it will generate much of complexity in international relations, especially when have so much cultural diversity and language diversity? Because in other continents, what we can see is the accent changes, but the language doesn't change after every kilometer. So, sir, that was the main stress of Anshika's question. So, how do we regulate that?
We do not. Like, notwithstanding you like or dislike, the national language is not language or business for us. For us, it is English.
Right.
And that is not such a issue. What you are saying, the point is, at micro level, if so many dissension is there, outside people observe saying that always these Indians are fighting. For that, we need what we are talking about,
Right.
the national level movement of youth, women, and coordination between state and center to unify India and project India. That India is unity in diversity, but when my export comes, when my MSME comes, When my cultural diplomacy comes, I'm on. Like that.
So talking about the UNSC permanent seat for India, um, how far do you think India's efforts will be fruitful, considering that China has a veto power and it will always stand against India?
See, neutralizing China is one of our major foreign policy measures. Lots of African countries now, they have started hitting China because the neo-colonialism tendencies of China by building palaces and roads and exploiting and taking away mountains of minerals and ores from African countries is going against them. But that is not the issue. The issue is that our dealing with developed countries, we are in each organization. Each organization quotes us, whether it is G20, whether it is BRICS, wherever. But when asking or demanding what is due to us goes, somewhere something lacks. Our Prime Minister must tell our Foreign Minister, time has come, we must ask our due. China exploits and takes their due. Now they are well established. Forget about them. We don't have to compete with them. But there are many issues, whether it is WTO, whether it is UNGC, and many multilateral boards, we must start asking. Say, for example, there is a highest level visit with USA. We should not talk about friendship and all this. We say you give this to us. Clear terms. So this thing, time has come now. Midterm demand for India's position in various multilateral organizations. And that does not come like that.
So I have two divisions in this question, sir. The first one is, what are the legal provisions that are available in UNSC? Because China will continue to counter us in through his veto power until we negotiate with it. What are the legal provisions that are available that for other permanent members or all the other non-permanent members that they form a majority and they counter China? Is there any legal provision available first?
That legal provision will take lots of time, many years. In our hand, when I said negotiation, Russia is your friend.
Right.
Using Russia to convince on without talking to China directly. Two, using the stick from USA and European Union to counter China. These four negotiation things are available. But point is that in the UN forum itself, the developed countries must start the movement that UNSC must expand. You cannot ignore South Africa. You cannot ignore few other countries. Therefore, once that comes, then only our talking to China comes. Now talking is it will backfire.
So,
That is the level.
I have a follow-up question to this, sir. Recently, for the voting, everybody voted for pro-India except China. But sir, I believe that is only because they don't want to ruin their relationship with India, and they already know that China will always veto against India. So, do you think it's Russia's or let's say America's friendship with India that they are voting pro-India, or it is because let's say China is already voting against us? So it's better to not ruin their relationship with India.
That is why we are going to explore Russia's friendship with China. That is why we are going to exploit animosity of America and European Union to China. There are few positions we propose on. China has done that in the past. We have done that in the past, especially you see human rights concern elections. We have supported China, China has supported us in different
Right. So second part of my question was, so how can we negotiate with China? Because of course we can't alienate it. Because as you said that the first option is very difficult. So how we can negotiate with China, like give us this seat, and instead China asks that we'll annex this part of you. So how do you think the negotiations will go on this?
first part of negotiation is our border issues. China must realize it that time has come. They have to recognize the existing border and tell us that let us settle the issues. That is not coming because China now has two problems. Tremendous domestic economic issues. Two, lots of pressure from the Western countries on economic front. So that keeps them so busy that they keep dispute with India alive to garner some kind of gains. which means short term it is difficult. Medium term, I think after a few, maybe 1 2 years, the position will come where we can talk.
Right, sir. So, sir, now,
Plus,
right.
despite all the problems, export of China has gone up to 100 billion.
Correct, sir.
If I put down 1 0, that will affect almost 20 million Chinese. That till now we have not used it. So that is also another thing you have to keep in mind.
Right, sir. So, sir, coming to the part of BRICS now. So, we can't alienate China, so now we are coming towards BRICS. And BRICS has currently been seen as a counter to G7. So, now India is being called as a special member in G7 because, as Jatin Rodi also said, that we can't alienate India. So, sir, how far do you think BRICS is becoming a superpower and it's capable to counter G7? And how in BRICS expansion, which are underway talks, Saudi Arabia is also tend to join, Iran is also tend to join. So how these two Shia Sunni counters and how India and China, these two counters, are tend to manage BRICS and further its agendas to counter G7. How India is tend to play these roles.
Yesterday, I was speaking on the topic. BRICS is still on the brink of becoming a superpower multilateral body.
That's a reality.
BRICS.
Then
Why? When each of the countries have, the major BRICS members have their domestic economic issues, we cannot have a BRICS currency. One. Two. How many countries you bring? Each of the BRICS countries are specifically dependent on the G7. Therefore, identifying the areas of cooperation, trade, development issues, financial assistance, multilateral economic body, sustainable development cooperation will take a long time. If you think Iran and Saudi will talk and decide on the sustainable development goals between themselves under BRICS framework, that's a day sleep. Therefore, keep this again mid-term, long-term policy. What BRICS can do now? One, strengthen trade relationships between the member countries to counter dependence on G7 countries. Two, within the things, convince China to bring down its neo-colonialistic practice and be active participant in developmental goals. Three, technical cooperation between the BRICS countries, especially in the developed countries. Four, to help Africa. And if you do not help Africa now, the medium-term prediction is it will go also, for example, countries like Gambia, countries like Sub-Saharan Republic, they are going down to dogs. The economy, the people, and it's in bad shape. So somewhere we must get together and help these countries.
So if the point of Africa has been raised, then I would like to ask a very personal question for it. Like the world is being developed. Since ages, we have seen so many revolutions. Now we are in the fourth decade of industrial revolution. So, sir, why African countries are still at the behest of all these political manipulations and coup d'etats? Why the Western nations are so much into the political process of Western nations, African nations?
Problem lies in the African politics itself. Because the colonialism was not only divide and rule, divide, no education and rule.
Okay.
Therefore, most of the tribes, they fight between themselves. A tribal leader becomes a president, 5 years, his tribe rules, no other tribe. Two, French colonialism, till 10 years back, they used to almost rule the West Africa. From Nigeria till Guinea, they used to rule the country. British monopoly, British Africa, you know, whether it is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and all that. Portuguese in Angola. So Europeans, which now China is doing, exploiting China for minerals. No social development, agricultural development, water management projects. Three, allowing migration, the percentage that we are benefiting so much, allow them to come to France, to come to UK, allow them. This is what has given Africa a belief that they are strong. We have the minerals and all, people will come to us. We have migration, we can go and get educated in UK and France. But domestic development issues suffer. And domestic issue is agriculture, having local industries and an SME, women and children. So these issues, till then, if they are not focused as global policy in Africa, Africa will go down. And every day it is going down. Say for example,
Yeah, yes, sir. So I remember I learned about this somewhere that there was a the corruption in the political system in Africa is such that they started this identity record system to maintain an identity of all the citizens. But then that was alleged by the court that they track people without their own knowledge. How are the people supposed to believe the government and trust in the government's process when the government does not let the citizens trust them?
that is what I'm telling you. The tribal difference inside the country is tremendous. Therefore, people do not trust government. One tribe does not trust another tribe. Therefore, the development suffers. Africa policy should be like this, that African Development Bank is there, African Union is there. But my giving and my monitoring say India does a great job. Like our seed distribution center is set up in 8 countries. Africa is agricultural country. Good seeds produce good products. And but just producing is not enough. How will they export it? Which country they will export to? And how the cooperative will collect the crops? These are very major issues.
So, coming to the part of BRICS only, how far do you think that BRICS will definitely counter G7 one day? Like, we agree that it's a rising power. Neither G7 can ignore it or alienate it one day. But how far do you think BRICS is on the right path of countering G7?
A right path is basically the right member countries are there to matter to the global power. But they are being together, they are formulating policies together, they are formulating international path cooperation together, then only they can counter to G7. Otherwise, it can become another NAM, another G77.
Correct, sir. So, sir, coming to the part of Make in India. So, there are like it's already been 10 years. How far do you think that we are already on the right path of Make in India? For example, we bought Tejas. It's an indigenous fighter, but the engine is not being developed by us. So, how far do you think Make in India is on the right track, and what changes do you recommend?
Right track is one. Again, I say India's export must go. Therefore, the projects we are bringing through Make in India must have export income that generates revenue and employment. One. Two, if you're talking about defense, science, and technology, if exports are not taking place, does not matter. It is related to India's developmental goals. Three, Make in India, the programs are excellent, but ministries who are implementing it, are they bringing right kind of investment? Are they bringing right kind of technology? Say, as an Indian, I ask, which technology we need in steel sector, ferrous, non-ferrous metal sector, weaving sector, design drawing sector, CAD sector, AI. All these issues need to be on board. Regular review must take place. Say, for example, FICCI, CII, all the apex chambers of commerce, they must create Make in India manifestation discussion bodies among trade and industry and come to the governments. All the time, what has happened is that Indians, since Gandhi gave us freedom, I am saying that they gave us freedom because we contributed less. So we believe in slogans out. But those need to be converted into review, multi-ministerial, multi-nodal, multi-organization consultation process. Three, right areas.
Right, sir.
So, talking about the Planning Commission and the Niti Aayog, Niti Aayog is an advisory organization, whereas Planning Commission had the power to implement those. How far do you think implementation is an issue right now that Niti Aayog has come and it can only give advices? So, when it comes to policy making, it is not on them.
I have worked in planning commission for 2 years. The long-term restructuring of trade commission. See, EPI has its job. It can advise. So, for example, Make in India, what advice it has given? What industries it has identified? What review it has taken with the concerned ministry saying industry has been implemented? If this is done, then they can replace the role of planning commission.
Hmm.
At the moment, it is basically just a advisory board, which circulates opinion, which interacts with youth, which is a good thing. But just interacting is not enough. Talk about youth employment, talk about youth entrepreneurs, talk about allocation of funds to the young MSMEs. These things which planning commission with the ministries to do that role has not been fulfilled by NIFU.
Right, sir.
Sir, do you think this asks for us to go back to the planning commission?
Restructure, combine both. See, in India, since 47, we love to create institutions. We love to create bodies. Whether it is private sector, public sector, family, we create them. But with the lacuna, what Niti Aayog lacks the teeth of the planning commission, we combine them.
Yes.
But who is reviewing it? Review of implementation, review of policy making, review of the structure. These are the most important things for India, for growing India, for our future India. India 2047, which you are saying.
Okay, sir. So, as we are entering into the world of global conflicts and global supply chains are being disrupted, so how far do you think it's the need of the hour to consider our conventional trade routes like Suez Canal or the Red Sea because it's being underway attacks from the Houthi rebels? So, suddenly we are seeing that there is a revival of INSTC. India and Russia, Iran, all the Central Asian republics are linked to it. And now even China is also very excited that I should link BRI with INSTC. So CPEC was a complete fraud and BRI was also a complete disaster. So sir, how far do you think it's important for India to now manage INSTC and Jahabad ports and all the other supply chains that, for example, IMEC also, but Middle East is under disruption right now. So what are the trade routes that we should now consider? And also geopolitical analysts have now realized that we can't ignore international relations when we are studying economics.
Most important aspect you are forgetting is the diaspora. Except perishables, you can really start warehousing trading via Mauritius, via Reunion Island. Wherever Indians are there, you can trade, whether it is Caribbean or Latin America. Both. Say you are importing edible oil from Argentina, you can stock it there and see the which routing we should bring it. Stock and trade system, warehousing trading system, new routes, collaboration with the diaspora dominating countries. These are some of the avenues. But as far as the established routes are concerned, it's a midterm because without trade, no country can survive. Okay?
Not even the rebellions would survive.
Not the Houthis can survive.
Right.
Because their bullet, that comes from 4 countries. From Azerbaijan, it won't reach them. Azerbaijan, because most Russian time, USSR time, most of the things are phased manufacturing program. They used to produce their products in different countries. They separated from USSR, but still they produce, whether it is Baltic republics, whether it is Kazakhstan, whether it is Uzbekistan. So Houthi bullets and all the armaments come from there. So they won't survive also. Therefore, short term, it's a big problem, but it's a big problem for countries like India, for countries like China. Therefore, this route I said warehousing trading, except perishables, of course, and then short-term arrangements we must see. And business is aware about that. Point is that we always blame government. Also, business need to be blamed. Business need to be, whether it is Adani, Ambani, they must be said that if this is the situation is bad, what are you doing? How are you getting Venezuelan oil? If you're getting Venezuelan oil, why don't you help us to get our quinoa from Colombia? These are issues like suggestions.
Right.
So the development of relationship with government by the trade and industry is most important thing. They always depend. The government should give. What are they giving? That is what I'm saying.
All right.
At this point of time.
So, sir, coming to domestic issues and interlinking it with IR. So, Narendra Modi's third term is being seen as a very prolific change in our neighborhood first policy, and also we are celebrating our decade of India's neighborhood first policy. So, sir, there was a clear cut message that we are going to stress a lot on our international relations policy, stressing towards our neighborhoods because we were seen as being a Vishwa group, but we were like neighborhoods, our neighborhoods were being taken up by China. So, sir, how far do you think now it's the right time that we should make our relations hard with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Maldives, and let ourselves be the most eminent superpower in this region, countering China?
See, South Asia problem is so difficult. Say, if you try to be strong with Sri Lanka, they will sell themselves to China. You try to be strong with Maldives, already that idiot is sold to China.
Right.
You try to be strong with Bangladesh,
Hmm.
they will take money and sell part of their sea fronts to China. Therefore, till we die, we have to have this policy of keeping them happy. And they know it well and they exploit it versus India versus China. Tomorrow, if you don't give money to Nepal, immediately they'll go to
Yes.
China. Already Kodari highway is there. I don't want 5-6 highways coming from China to Nepal. Therefore, immediately I give funds. Same thing with Bhutan. I don't want like Bhutan to go to China. Therefore, containment of the neighboring countries, for this, you have to blame the idiot colonial power British. That divide and rule has brought us such a colonial legacy that will take long time. Yes, today suppose we are like UNSC member and we don't have any border problem with China. We can capture them. Just go and you should edit. Should capture the multi-space and shut up. What are you talking about? But we cannot do that. Therefore, this containment policy will continue. Bangladesh relationship is becoming normal and it will become institutionalized the way things are going.
Right.
Pakistan, lots of Pakistanis want. I was Consul General in Karachi. We changed the mission. That hand is mine. 95. But the issue is that people, ISI and military rules are coming. Therefore, like Pakistan is wanting peace with India will not come till this political process becomes the lead factor. Therefore, that won't happen in my lifetime, maybe in your lifetime, yes. Neutralizing China, we should continue with containment of the neighboring countries through aid programs, technical cooperation programs. So lots like we are there is a growing Indian constituency in each of these countries that will help us. Not Maldives, but Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. The constituency is growing, but that will help us in future.
Right. So, you have any questions? So, we have come to the end of this discussion. Thank you so much, sir, for responding to all our questions in such a summarized and brief manner. And we look up to further discussions with Ambassador Khatua. Thank you so much for your time and effort, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.